Hey guys, thanks for stopping at Ask a Guitar Pro today. My name's Jake and we're going to be talking a little bit about guitar tone and the basics behind it. For starters, guys, a lot of guitar players out there, a lot of students of mine have asked me, how do we get this type of guitar tone? What do I need to do to arrive at a certain type of guitar tone to emulate all my guitar heroes? And really, there's no magic smoking gun to come up with a guitar tone. Rather, it really is dependent on a number of different categories. And as you can see here, I've highlighted what I think are really the 6 main categories that define particular guitar players' tones. So we'll jump right into it here. The first, and a lot of guitarists would probably tell you the most important, are the fingers of the guitar player. The attack of the fingers on the frets, the vibrato, the palm muting. Those kinds of things really go a long way to define a particular guitar player's tone, whether you're, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Steve Vai, all these different guys have really a characteristic type of finger action that sets them apart, from the everyday guitar player. So fingers definitely are an important nuance. Secondly is the guitar type. This is also a big category, of course, the different types of woods that are used in guitars, the types of pickups on a guitar, whether it's a single coil pickup, a humbucker. Of course, the differences in the guitars themselves make a big difference, whether the guitar is a solid body guitar, whether it's a hollow body guitar, whether it's an acoustic guitar. All of those change the amount of sustain resonance the particular guitar has, so that definitely plays a vital role. Next category here are strings and tuning. Obviously this isn't mutually exclusive from the guitar itself, but the gauge of the strings you're using, whether they're light gauge like 9s for example, or some of the heavier gauges out there, that can definitely change the tone that the pickups are sending back to your amplifier. So the gauge of the strings makes a big difference as well. The tuning of the guitar plays a role as well. Lower tunings like a half-step drop can make a big difference. For example, Stevie Ray Vaughan typically played a half-step lower than standard tuning, so it was easier for him to bend strings, do hammer-ons, pull-offs, and things like that because the half-step lower tuning took a little bit of tension off the string, so it made it much easier to do those things on a guitar. And of course there's other tunings out there, drop D, even lower tunings at that of course can change the dynamics of what you're hearing from the strings to affect the tone. Next category is equalization, and really there's a number of different places where you can tweak your tone, or your mids, your basses, and your highs, for example, or your trebles. You can do it on the amplifier itself. Guitars, of course, have their own tone knobs. Amplifiers have, I should say, pedals also have different tone controls too, so you can control your tone at a number of different locations in the overall signal chain, so that can go a long ways in defining your tone. And they also make equalizer pedals too, so even in your effects loop, or your effects chain I should say in itself, you have a way to adjust tone. So a lot of different ways to do that. Moving on, the next category is distortion or overdrive. It depends on the guitar player, but some guitar players that you might listen to have a really heavy overdrive, maybe more metal, hard rock, whereas other guitar players have just a little bit of breakup and a little bit of distortion. But either way, that quantity or amount of distortion definitely affects the amount or affects the overall tone of the guitar player, or defines that particular guitar player as far as how much they use. Last category here is sustain. I think it could be argued that a lot of the great guitar players out there, whether you're talking David Gilmour, Joe Satriani, the list goes on and on and on, have had typically a very warm or long sustain in their overall sound. Steve Vai, if you've ever seen him play live, he'll hit a note and it'll seem like it'll hang on forever. So, a lot of times sustain is really associated with a great guitar tone. So anyways, guys, these are really kind of 6 categories that you could break everything down in a guitar sound to figure out really where it comes from at the end of the day. So I encourage you to experiment with these different categories, and the great guitar players out there have probably mastered maybe one of these categories or many of these categories to really arrive at their, specific tone or whatnot. But hey, I appreciate you stopping in and checking out things. If you wanted to respond to this video on the post, let me know what your thoughts are. Also, if you want to see a particular video, I'd love to put together something you have questions on. So, come check us out again at Ask a Guitar Pro, and hopefully we can help you define your characteristic tone. Thanks, guys.